Greeting and thanks for tuning in. I'm Maura Kelly from People's Academy Middle Level in Morrisville, Vermont, and welcome to the ninth episode of the PLP Pathways webinar series. I'd like to thank Orca Media for letting us film this show in their studio.
And I'm Don Taylor from Montpelier, Vermont. I'm a middle level educator, grades 7 through 8. I'd like to thank the Tarrant Institute for Innovative Education and the Middle Grades Collaborative for sponsoring PLP Pathways. This has been a continuing professional development series designed to help teachers with the implementation of Act 77 and personal learning plans. And before I forget, this concludes our webinar series for the year. This is our 9th episode, and we're happy to report that we'll be back next year. So please tune in to PLP Pathways either on Twitter, follow us on Google+, or on all of our social media outlets. And we'll make sure that you're aware of our first webinar next year. So Maura and I are concluding today just by reflecting on personalization and also what we might change for next year with PLPs. And first of all, Maura, what can you tell me about your year with personalization, and what do you remember, what went well, and what are you going to keep for next year?
I think this was our second year within the PLP, and I think last year we were kind of scrambling, trying to figure out how to make it work. And this year we had some structures put into place with routine reflections and trying different things. But some of the things that have really stood out to my team, and when we reflect on it, is thinking about having students really thinking about setting shorter goals. And really trying to have them engaging within their actual Google site where the portfolio lives more often, but also just continuing to find times to celebrate students on their successes in a public way to encourage other students. But one of the big things for us is trying to figure out how do we get students involved in the planning of the PLP and the rollout. We're going to multi-age houses next year, and so it's a really nice opportunity for us to think about mentoring within team, but also school-wide, and almost having students act as advisors to teachers on what would work the best, how to best meet their needs. And so those are some things that I'm really focused on, and also just continuing to use the transferable skills within my content classrooms and really making it a point to have that be a big driver for my instruction.
That sounds like you've done a lot of reflection on your practice, and you've noticed some of the things that both went well and that you need to work on. And as you were talking, I just thought to myself, one of the big things, you mentioned reflection, and a lot of the professional material that I'm reading right now speaks to the importance of reflection and learning. And this was the first year that we used Blogger as a reflecting tool. And I want to thank Susan Hennessy at the Tarrant Institute for really pushing me towards Blogger as that reflection tool. And I'd have to say it's totally changed our reflecting, and it's also really changed our writing and our ability to go back and see where we were and how we've improved. And kids now have, I think, roughly 35 or 40 blog entries over the course of the year that are all tagged, are searchable by tags, and involve not only personalization, but their growth and learning as a student. And I would have to say that that is now embedded pretty deeply in our literacy program, and it's really important. You also mentioned having the shorter goals, and as you know, I might have mentioned in a previous show, we've gone to having transferable skill goals because we believe that that allows students to pull from a much wider range of evidence, both in school, across the curriculum, and out of school. And I've actually now gone to having kids set, I call them micro goals, where we do little projects, and I have them set these short transferable skill goals just based on that project. What are the things you want to work on this project? And it's both a strength and a challenge as to next year structure those goals so that the micro goals feed into those larger trimester goals. And then the last issue that I think you brought up that's very interesting for me is to start having the PLP as the actual workspace. So again, we're doing a learning project on the Middle Ages right now, and instead of creating a separate space, I had the kids create a a page on their PLP site, and now they have a drop-down menu. So that workspace is right there, and that I can go and not only look at the evidence on their PLP, but using the drop-down menu, they can start accumulating evidence from a range of classrooms, and that can show, again, their progress in that one area.
I think for us, we were a little worried about having the work being put on right onto the portfolio, onto the PLP, and really feeling like it was for big displays of learning. But I think it sort of turned into this abstract place. Like, it will go onto the portfolio, and so we're really going to work on linking the blog right into the portfolio, having students navigating using it, really directing parents to it more, so it is more visible and has a little bit more of a presence within the classroom. Even though we talk about it all the time, really having it feel a little more concrete to students.
Yeah, and I think too, just in your instruction during the day, if you say, I want you to do a blog reflecting on your goals, let's all go to your PLP, incorporating that into the instructional model is going to allow kids to see it as a platform for learning, more than just an extra place or thing that they have to do. And I've felt that kids have enjoyed that a little more. It also allows kids to review their goals more frequently and to just see the development of their body of work. So that was definitely something that that we're going to be keeping for next year. And then finally, just in terms of reflecting, I've had mixed results with setting aside a specific time to work on the PLP. It seems to me that it works best when you integrate it fluidly into your instructional model. And so again, that would be, we went on a field trip last week, we took some pictures, we shared those using Google Drive, and then as part of our reflection on the field trip, go to the Google Drive, get a picture, put that on your site, and do a little writing piece about that. And so again, incorporating that into the instruction makes it more important to the kids and more visible, and allows that to become a workspace rather than just a just a place that you only go to once every so often. Okay. So for next year, what are your plans for next year, PLPs and personalization?
I think one of the big things is, as you were just saying about, setting aside time for routine reflection, which I still think is really important. I really want to see it living within my classroom more. I think, we all share in our responsibility, all classroom teachers, to have the PLP live within our own classroom, but really not being afraid to dive in and having students interact and doing that. But one of my big things that I want to focus on is doing some more place-based learning and incorporating that into the PLP, and really helping with the whole building of community, but also personal identity and relationships. And so I'm really looking forward to starting the year off that way.
Okay. For me, one of the things that I'm focused on or thinking hard about is how to incorporate elements of the PLP into our curriculum. And as you know, there's the 7 elements: exploration, goals, evidence, principles and values, identity, and community and relationships. And what I'm thinking of is, how do you use that as a lens for the curriculum? So when we talk about relationships and we're reading literature, what relationships does the main character have? How do those change over the course of the story? When we're looking at historical events, how does that particular event, or how did that affect the community, the state, the nation? And by linking those, the curriculum pieces back into the PLP, I think kids are able to reflect not only on the event or the story, but also how that connects to their own lives and their own story. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really working towards, is so that kids can be making this connection to their own interests, their own lives on a regular basis, using the same standards-based curriculum that we've been using. And that's something that I'm going to be thinking hard about over the course of the summer. Okay. Now, you had talked about mentoring, and what would mentoring look like next year on your team, and what do you think what would be the benefits of that?
So next year we're already thinking about, I already have plans for sort of mentoring in 2 ways. So one of the ways that it's going to be happening Within my team, I'm going to be on a team of 3 teachers next year, and it's going to be multi-age, so 2 8th grade sections and 1 7th grade section. But we're going to have multi-age TA, and so we'll have students paired up with a PLP partner, and that will be a partnership that will last throughout the year. But then what I'm also going to be doing is I'm working with one of the other houses, and within our house, 7th graders will be paired with a 5th grader, so that their relationship can be a 2-year relationship. So when they leave the 6th grade, they will be on house with goals partners for their previous year. And we're going to have regularly scheduled, I'm hoping for at least twice a month, where they're going to be meeting and at the different stages of the year where the different focuses are around the PLP and goals and reflection. They'll have opportunities to meet. And so then 6th graders will be working with 8th graders. 5th graders will be working with 8th graders. And so it will be both within house for sort of quick check-ins, but then also having a long-term relationship between the grades.
Right, and I think that hints to what we were just talking about too, is how you start developing those relationships, and then you have the kid reflect and think about those relationships on their PLP, so that it becomes a self-serving, is okay, here's a relationship that you're having now, and you can add that onto your PLP, and you're actually giving kids the experience that they can then think about and internalize. One thing I do want to mention to the mentoring is we're considering a facilitated mentoring program where we have 7th and 8th graders helping 5th and 6th graders with the introduction to the PLP and developing those mentor relationships across grades as a leadership and citizenship opportunity. So that's something we're focused on. But we're also I'm thinking about PLPs as a constructivist enterprise where kids are actually building out the Google site, and it's a technological Lego type Minecraft. We're building it now. And as they're building these sites and they're starting to include different links and different pieces of evidence, it becomes a model of their own learning. And so that's something that I'm also thinking about as a theme for the PLPs, is they're building their story, they're building their evidence, they're building their site, and then that becomes portable. And the last thing I want to mention is every now and then we have the opportunity to take some chances with the PLP or to do something that we haven't thought about before. And right now we have a student who's creating their PLP, or at least a model their PLP in Minecraft, where you walk through this different world and they have a goals. There's a landscape that includes goals and a landscape that includes their identity. And they're constructing that. And it really is fascinating when you think about kids using their imagination to construct their world for another person. And it includes all these aspects of narrative and technology and reflection, and kids really thinking hard about how they want to present themselves. And it really has some, hopefully, some outcomes that will continue to engage and motivate kids, which is why PLPs, I think, are so important. So this is it. This is the last one. We've made it through a year. I'd like to thank our student producer, Adam Blair. I'd like to thank Maura Kelly for her commitment to the project. We'll be back next year, PLP Pathways. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at PLP Pathways, or online. We have a Google site, PLP Pathways, and we're here to help teachers. And just thanks again to the Middle Grades Collaborative and the Tarrant Institute. And any last words on this year, Maura?
It's been a great year, and I find that I am constantly learning new things and am challenged by new things and have new ideas. And so I'm excited to see what happens next.
And I think next year, one of our goals will be to get some guests on the show. So thank you very much. We appreciate it, and have a great summer, everybody.